Hello everyone, in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make a custom help command. You may have noticed that with Discord.py, typing help gives you a text-only help command showing the documentation for your commands. What I'm going to be showing you how to do is how to make it personalized to make it show an embed or embed with a select menu to choose which cog you want to show help for. Since select menu is a part of Discord.py 2.0, I'll be using Nextcord, which is based on Discord.py 2.0. If you prefer, you can use any other library, including Discord.py itself, by using the 2.0 branch. If you're using Discord.py, you can see information about how to do that in their Discord server, in the guild news channel. You'll see pip install -u git plus, and then the URL for Discord.py on GitHub. If you're using Nextcord, all you have to do is just install Nextcord, and it'll automatically already have all of the button components and select menus built in. Now there are many ways to make a help command. This walkthrough by InterStella 0 on GitHub is a very helpful guide that may answer many of the questions you may have. Many people think that in order to make their own help command they'll have to create a new command and then create the entire thing themselves. But that's not true. There is a help command class in Discord.py. All you have to do is subclass it to make it do the functions that you want, and I'll show you exactly how to do it. There are a few different ways to do this. The way I recommend is to use this sample starter code created by Vex. It's used inside of a cog, and it will replace your help command with a new help command that is based on a class, and you'll be able to fill that class with the things that you want your help command to do. So I'd recommend starting with this code. The link to this gist will be in the description so you can go check it out. I'll create a new cog. So I'm going to make this help. Inside this cog, I'll just start with this code. Now since I'm using Nextcord, I will say from nextcord.ext import commands. If you are using Discord.py or another library, you might want to use from discord.ext import commands. One more thing that we'll need is the setup function. I will go over here and we can call this Help Cog. Typically I'll give this a name over here like help and a description like shows help info about commands. This doc string over here, this shows help info about commands, will show up as a description of the cog since it is in the documentation for this class. Now this help command you can keep in the same file or you can put in a separate file and import it. I prefer to keep classes in separate files, so I'll be moving to another file, but if you prefer to keep in the same file, that is fine. So I'm going to call this helpcommand.py. I'm going to move the class over to here. I'm going to have to put the same import over here, and over here I'll need to import my help command. So I'll say from .helpCommand import my help command. So now that we've added this cog, we can go test it out and make sure that our help command still works. And I'll run the bot and I'll type in over here help. And now you notice over here our help command looks slightly different. Instead of showing in a code block, it's showing with headings like this. But in order to make it look nicer, we'll want to put an embed, so I'll show you how to do that. There are 4 main functions we'll need to override to do this. One is the send bot help function, which we can write as async def send bot help. This is going to take a mapping, which is like a dictionary that contains the cogs and all the commands within each cog. So you can use this in order to list out all of the commands in each cog in a custom help page. We'll get back to this. The second function is send command help. This is for when you want to send help about a specific command and say what that command will do. And we also have send cog help. This one will be for sending help about a cog. It will tell you all of the different commands in the cog and a short description about what each command will do. And the last one we have is send group help. And since group is just a subclass of command, we can just use the same one for command, but list out all of the commands just like we would for cog help. So I'm going to say send group help equals send command help, so that'll tell it to use the same function for both of these. This over here we can say is commands.command is the type. That will help with type annotations later. And over here we can say commands.cog. To avoid repetition, I'm going to make a single function that will create the embeds. And all of these functions will call them with different parameters. I'm going to call this function help embed. For now we'll just pass itself and we'll pass in more things as we go. So the first thing we'll need to do in this function is create an embed. So you can say embed equals embed with a title set to some title. And we'll need to import embed. So we can say from Nextcord import embed. And again, if you're using discord.py, you'd use discord instead of Nextcord. This title we can pass as a parameter, which would be a string. We can also give it a description, which is a string. We can make this an optional string because maybe you don't want to have a description in all of these, maybe you want to use fields for some. So that will tell that it can be a string or none, and we can give a default here of none. So what this will do is it will allow us to optionally have a description, and we can say if description, then embed.description equals description. And at the end of the function we'll need to return the embed. Inside we're going to add different fields for each of these types of commands. Now send.bot_help is going to call this function and return an embed. So we can say return self.helpEmbed. We can say title equals bot commands. The description can be the bot's description if there is one. So we can say self.context.bot.description. That will give us the description of the bot, which we would specify in the bot class if we have one. If we don't, then this will just be none. That's fine because if the description is none, it won't show up. I'm going to also pass the mapping to this function, so you can say mapping equals mapping, and I'll have to add it over here as well. And this can be optional because the other ones will not be passing mapping to this function. So now we can say if mapping, then we'll do what we want to do for if we have a bot command mapping. So we'll say add a short description of commands in each cog. So you can say for cog and command set in mapping dot items, because we want to get pairs of items in this mapping as a cog and a command set. We have to go through these and add each cog to the embed. First I'm going to filter the commands, because that way we'll only see commands that the user is allowed to see. For example, if we have admin only commands, those will not show up to every user. So you can say filter equals await self.filter commands and give it the command set, and sort equals true. If this is empty, so if we can say if not filtered, then we can just continue. Otherwise, we'll want to add all these to the embed. So let's get the name of the cog. We can say cog.qualifiedName. If we have some commands that are not in any cog, this could throw an error because the cog would be none. So we can say cog.qualifiedName if cog, else no category. Now we'll deal with the issue in case we do have commands that are outside of cogs. Now we can make a list of commands in a string. We can say command list equals, we can put a \u 2002. This is going to be a slightly wider space, so you don't have to do it exactly like this, but I'm going to use this character since I think it looks nice between the commands. And we're going to say .join on this list of commands. All I really want to have here is the prefix and the command name. So I can make an f string here, which will allow me to put formatted text inside of a string. Here we can put self.context.clean prefix. That will give us the prefix, not including any mentions they may have used, and then cmd.name for cmd in filter. So this is going to go through the list of commands that have been filtered already and give us the prefix followed by the name of the command for every command in the list. So it's going to give us a string containing all of our commands with spaces in between. And if we want to, we can put this inside of backticks to make it more like a code block. Now if the cog has a description, we might also want to include that. So I'm going to say value equals, we're going to have the cog.description and then a new line and then the command list. We only want to have that if there is a description for the cog. Otherwise, we just want the command list. So we can say if cog and cog.description, else command list. And what that's going to do is it will give us the command list if there is no description, or the description, new line, and then the command list if there is a cog and there is a description for that cog. Now we can add the field by saying embed.addField and give it the name and the value. And now we can actually try this out and see what it looks like. We don't currently have help for commands or cogs, but we'll get to that very soon. We try this out. Help embed was never awaited. Yes, we need to put await over here when we call this because it's an async function. And of course, I forgot that this needs to be actually sent. You're not just returning it. We can say await self.getDestination. That will give us the channel to send the message in. And we can say .send and give it the embed equals await self.helpEmbed, exactly as we had before. It might actually be nicer to make this a separate line. So I'm going to say embed equals await this, and then we'll say embed equals embed. Now it should actually send it. And now we get our embed help command. So it gives us help, which shows info about commands. These are all the cog descriptions, and then we have a list of commands inside of that cog. So now let's do the same for command help and cog help. We can say embed equals await self.helpEmbed. So we can say that the title can be the command dot qualified name. That will give us the full name of this command. And we can get description equals command.help. The help will be the description of how to use the command, which we can specify over here, like underneath a command, like checks for response to the bot. That will be the command.help. And that's all we really need for command, but we're also using this for group help. So if we're doing group help, we might want to send the list of commands in the group, and this will be useful for cogs as well. So we're going to give it a command set. This can be commands.commands, but only if it's an instance of a group. You can say if is instance command commands.group, else none. So that will make sure that if it's just a command without being a group, it will not throw an error there. And then we can say send this embed. Now this command set also needs to be added as a parameter over here. This line is getting a bit long, so I'll split it onto a few lines. We can add a third parameter here, command set, which we can say is optional, and it's a set of commands.command. And we'll set it to none. So when we're doing bot help, we're just going to pass the mapping. When we're doing group help or cog help, we'll pass this command set. And let's make sure to import all of these things. So now we can say if command set, then we're going to show help about all commands in the set. Otherwise, we'll do this. So over here is where we're going to be just listing all the commands in the set and descriptions about them. Before we do this, we can fill out the cog help because it's going to be very similar. What we want to do is embed equals cog.qualifiedName, and then we can have cog.description and cog.getCommands. So when we do cog help, we're just going to go through all the commands in the set and show help for them. So now let's write that part. So first we'll want to filter these so that they don't see commands they're not supposed to see. So we can say await self.filter commands, command set, sort equals true. Then we can go through all these commands in the filtered commands and add a field. So we can say embed.addField name equals self.getCommandSignature command. We can say command.help over here, and inline equals false. That will make it so it'll all display vertically. It will look a little bit better that way. So now let's try this out for cogs. We can say help, let's say ping. So it's saying that it has no attribute clean prefix. That is actually a change with the new version of Discord, I think. but you can say over here self.context, and that should have the clean prefix. I'm going to rewrite this to use f strings because I prefer the syntax of that. So I'm going to say return self.context.clean prefix, and then I'm going to have the command.qualified name, and then I'm also going to have the command.signature. So this will have, like, let's say a question mark is my prefix, so it'll show question mark, the name of the command, and then the signature, which basically means how you would call the command, like for example, like what the arguments are that get passed into the function, whether they're optional or not. You'll see what that looks like. Let's refresh this. And we'll do help ping. Well, this does not take anything, but you see that it has question mark ping as the signature. If we have, let's say, help with random, you'll notice that dice, that takes a parameter over here, which is dice, and it's required. The angle brackets means it's required, and the square brackets mean that they're optional, so this takes any number of arguments which are optional. Now you'll notice that before I was using a code block for help commands, so the underscores showed up, but here they make it italics. So we should keep that in mind when switching to embeds, that we might want to change our documentation to work with Markdown. So going back to this command, we can put backslashes before the underscores, and those will escape them, meaning it'll literally show an underscore instead of showing the italic D. And we can also do even more Markdown stuff, like putting code blocks in our help. We can put a full description there. And we might want to only show this on the full help command page. I'll show you how you can change that. Instead of command.help over here, I would probably just use command.shortDoc, since that should give us the first line of the documentation for the command and not the full thing. But since that might not exist, we might want to give a default as well. So I'll split this into a few lines and we'll say command.shortDoc or ... That will basically give a default value if there is no documentation for this command. There should always be documentation. We just want to make sure that this will not crash. And now let's try this one more time, help random. Now you'll see it shows just the short version of the documentation, not the full thing. And if we do help for a specific command, like help roll, we will see the full command with our code block in there as well. And you notice that our underscores are showing up now because we use backslashes. And for a bot help page, this is what it shows. You may also want to show like the author, which is a nice thing to add. We'll just add it for the bot commands page. So we can say over here, avatar equals self.context.bot.user.avatar. That will give us the avatar asset if it exists, but if the bot does not have an avatar, for example, the one I'm using right now, it just uses a default avatar. So we can say self.context.bot.user.defaultAvatar. The underscore URL part is for an older version of Discord. That was for 1.7.3. But if we're using version 2.0, we'll have to use avatar instead and then get the URL from there. And the way we do this is set author, and we could say avatar.url. And now if we refresh this, we can see that we get the avatar for the bot and the name of the bot as well. And if we were looking at another page, like random, we would see it here as well. I think it's not necessary for other pages, so I'm going to make it so this is optional and only will get added if we have this Boolean set. So let's say set author, then we'll do this. And we'll have to add set author over here. So I'm going to say set author bool and default false. And now if we want to just show the author, all we have to do is go to that function call and say set author equals true. And that will allow us to just show the author for specific embeds. So now you know how to make a basic help command with embeds. In the next video, which should be coming out very soon, I'll show you how to add select menus to make so the user can choose which category to show help for. When it becomes available, I'll include in the description. I hope you learned something. Let me know in the comments what you want to see more of, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!